So I finally got around to cleaning my little mini bar with all the liquor I have. Soon I'm gonna get a bookshelf and be able to actually put it somewhere, but I'm trying to get a better view of it. So here's how it looks. Now I gotta find a place to hang this up. Ice cream truck. Alright. So as everybody knows by now, as I've told everybody, I lost the bartending job in Miami Beach yesterday. I never got into the full story of what happened, so I'm going to try to make this video short as it happened so very fast. So after I got fired from Instacart for accusations of theft because customers were wanting free groceries, apparently with Instacart, if a customer says the groceries are missing and weren't delivered, they get an automatic refund without any form of questioning or investigation. And Karens take full advantage of that. And they believe them over their shoppers. And when I got fired from them, I asked for an investigation and all that stuff. And their response was, "You're just fired for good, no reactivation, goodbye." And I was like, okay, great, time to move on to my actual career. So I've been studying bartending for 3 years now. I've read bar books, I watched bartending videos, I watched videos on how to memorize cocktails. Got my bar right here, and up north I had it on a bookshelf and started making drinks, practicing drinks, serving drinks to friends, organizing my bar to make it look like cities from California. I was really passionate about making bar drinks and being a bartender and hoping to start my own business at the bar, but I never had experience in the bar itself. When I was planning on taking a leap of faith in 2020, after I left San Diego, I was going to give it a try. As a bar back, I didn't want to be a bartender just yet. I kind of had a feeling I wasn't ready. So I was going to be in San Francisco and start out, but then the COVID happened, and we can go on and on about COVID. That's another story and all the lockdowns. But anyway, I came to Florida to start it because up in Cincinnati, the governor was doing these mask mandates, lockdowns, and making it so we had limited hours and curfews, and there was only tables that were spread out like 10 or 15 feet apart and didn't have bar stools. So once the lease was over, I left without even looking back. And of course, I heard after I left, they lifted up the mask mandates and put the bar stools back up shortly after I left. I didn't want to take any chances. I mean, I'd go back to Cincinnati any day. It was an amazing place when I lived there. It was basically the new San Francisco and Los Angeles, or the new California and Seattle. So anyway, moving on, as I started the bartending job, I had the option to start bartending immediately. Now, I didn't have a clue what goes on besides making drinks, but I did not want to deny the opportunity and decided to pitch in and take full advantage of it. Now, I thought I was Mr. Know-It-All and thought, okay, yeah, I got this. Yeah, I'll do it. So at the first week or so in, I was getting the feel of like the menus, drink menu, where to put things and charge customers, talk to customers, make the drinks. Everybody does it differently. The jigger's over there, but we would use the big side of the jigger as a shot, the small side of the jigger, which was 3/4 of an ounce. We would do things like big jigger rum, small jigger triple sec, half the big jigger of this. Pretty easy at first, you know. My first weekend, I was making cocktails and taking simple food orders, which I thought was my duty and task. So I was getting the hang of everything. I was doing really well. Even the managers and head chefs in there were saying I was doing well. And after a week and a half, that was when everything started to plummet. I went from being in the bar, doing my end, to having to serve tables outside of the bar, run into the kitchen, and get sides and trays and make desserts for customers. Literally, if they needed a key lime pie, you had to literally go down there and make it yourself. Many of the servers would lie and say, we don't have dessert. Kind of makes sense on why I hear other places saying they don't have it, if that's how they run it. So to make it a long story short, when it first began, I think it was maybe my third day there. I was not being trained very well. They were just being like, "Oh, you just do this and do that." He goes back to what he's doing. They never actually took the time to be next to me and help me like for the entire day. It would only be like, punch this, punch this, punch that, punch that. I was only grasping at maybe like 20% of everything. I remember a math teacher I had way back in freshman year of high school, years ago, would say to me that if you sit and stare at the wall or the blueprint and just stare at it, you get 20% of the knowledge. The other 80% is going out there and doing it. Even to this day, it could not be more true. I think that was one of the only things I really learned in school besides English and a couple other classes. So anyway, I wasn't doing the other 80%, actually doing the things myself because I had a hard time grasping at it, but that was mainly because everything's new. I'm bouncing around. I'm running around like a chicken's head cut off, and all of my staff and trainers leave me to mainly go help out the kitchen because the kitchen was more understaffed than anywhere else. And all of this is new, I'm used to working for the tech companies where I'm by myself doing one task and the tedious things, not talking to people, being around people. So this is kind of new to me. And I'm having a hard time grasping because everything's new and I'm not used to it. It's kind of bringing back the memories of the grocery store where I was having to do other departments by myself with not much training or any kind of help. So I had those memories come back to me. And after all this was going on, I was wanting to quit and walk away, but I didn't want to give up on the opportunity. I was mainly in it for the experience. Now, I didn't like doing it. I was stressed out all the time. Like, I've been stressed out to where I've literally lost all this weight. I don't know if anyone can see it, but I can see it. Like, I've lost weight. I'm slim fit like I was in my early 20s. I looked in the mirror and I thought I was dreaming when I looked this great. But no, I've actually been dropping weight and maybe a bit of upper muscle from proteins like rice and beans, and every now and then I go eat at the Poke Bowl when I had some customer tips enough to reward myself from handling the stressful day. And I would have to get up at 5 a.m. because I had to drive an hour to my job as it's 20 miles away. Now, I was in it for the experience, even if it meant driving 20 miles or an hour drive. It can be 25 minutes without traffic if I leave early enough, but if I left at like 7 a.m. and I have to be there at 8, it would take an hour. If I get there at 6:30, I get there by 7. That's how bad the traffic is here in Miami. So, even if it meant me driving 20 miles, paying tolls, and not getting enough sleep, it was the experience I was really after. And because I wasn't sleeping and stressed out, I kind of wasn't able to function correctly, because normally I can get the hang of things at some point, but I was only there for, I'd say, 25 hours total. I had limited hours here and there because corporate will cut your hours and send you home to save money, which is kind of why I stopped wanting to work for corporate companies. So, I remember after I was sent home early from labor costs, which was last week on Friday, I was off for 6 days straight. And then I came back, which was the day before I got fired. I had to kind of refresh my memory as I haven't been there in a while. And so I was asking questions here and there, and I guess maybe they were irritated with me for asking all those questions, because people tend not to like it when you ask them questions, especially if they're the same ones. But I really wasn't resting or eating well, so I was kind of not functioning correctly and basically working myself stupid, which is a big no-no. I think maybe if I had more rest, I probably would have been able to function better. But I also had that feeling like, why is it that I have to do this and do that and go here and go there? I'm like, I thought I had one duty and one only. I'm not like saying I'm cocky and saying that's not my problem. But deep down, I'm kind of like saying to myself, like, why do I have to do all these things with such low pay? Like, I have to take care of the bar, I have to serve customers, getting ice, cutting fruit while there's other customers waiting for a drink. You know, it's like understaffing people and having everyone do everyone's job is bad for business. And my plan is to start a business. And even I'm smart enough to know that understaffing and overworking and paying low wages is bad for your business. You know, I'm not trying to be like cocky when I say that either. But it's, to me, it makes more sense. So the day I came back after 6 days of being gone, they were having me inside by myself, and I asked them, okay, so it's the same as it is outside. I like to ask questions, you know, that's how I learn. People tend not to like it when you ask them questions over and over. So I got the hang of everything. I was doing really well, but the register had a malfunction, and it wasn't my fault. But when it came to making the coffees like cappuccinos, Americanos, and lattes, I have no idea how to make that, and I was never trained how to do that. And they were giving me like a list of 5 of those coffees all to go by myself with no training. The only training I had was to make espressos. That was it. They didn't give me like 5 or 10 minutes of their time to help me. They just gave me like maybe 2 minutes worth on the first day, and I never used it again. And if I'm trained about something once and never use it, I'm just gonna forget. I mean, shit happens. So when I couldn't figure out how to make that, I asked people for help. I was like, hey, can I have 5 minutes of your time to help me do this so that I can write it down, if that when they need it, they got it. You know? And because they didn't like that, for me saying that I'm willing to write it down because I didn't know it. Now there was other stuff. The day they let me, I was 30 minutes into shift the next day, I was saying to everybody, hey, I'm sorry, I've been gone for a while. I'm still learning. And this was only 25 hours worth of time with all this stress. So I was saying to people like, hey, I got a pen and pencil, can you teach me how to do this so I can write it down? And they didn't take the time to like talk to me. They were kind of just in their own little world like they did every morning. Like whenever they were opening, I was the one doing all the work most of the time. Like after a few times I started getting the hang of it, I put everything up, the drinks, the mats, cutting the fruit. And I remember there was a couple mornings where I was hanging up the mats and cutting the fruit. I'd be by myself. I'm like, where'd everybody go? You know? And then I went inside to get the glasses to hang up, and I'd see everybody talking. The general manager and my other employees just all sitting there talking while I'm over here working, you know? Yeah, I did feel kind of mistreated, but again, it's been a while since I've actually worked at these companies, and now I see why, you know? And I remember they were talking about how like they were changing prices and rules and regulations to everything, and that it was getting worse. Then general manager gave me the job, stepped me aside, and said we'd have a chit chat. They didn't say it in a way that like freaked me out, which was great. And then stepped aside. It wasn't even very long. It was like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I don't really know. It was quick. It was, hey, you're not grasping at this and that. You've been here for 3 weeks. And it was not 3 weeks. I calculated the time. It was a total of 2 weeks and 25 hours worth of time, because it would be 8 to 10 a.m., 8 to noon, 8 to 5, gone for 6 days, then 8 to 4. So it was 2 weeks total, but it was 25 hours worth of time, and there wasn't enough time for the whole day to give me a full week worth of training, so it was hard to grasp. And because I wasn't used to this, it was harder for me. So they were saying that we want you to be by yourself, but you can't seem to be by yourself without having someone help you, and we can't hold your hand anymore. And I was like, I don't want you to hold my hand. I just don't get why I gotta do this and that, you know. Again, I'm not being arrogant or attacking you when I say that. And so they were saying to me, like, we don't think you're ready. And I agreed. And then they said, we wish you the best of luck. And then I said to them, when's the next paycheck, which is next week. Turn in everything else. So that was that. That is the story of what happened. I've been studying this career for 3 years. It wasn't anything I expected. Now every bar and place is different. But all in all, it was a great experience, and I'm glad I did it because now I know where my weak spots are and that I can work on it. But now I have found another place to work, but I'm going to step down, be a bar back, and get the real training I need, and not that, oh, just punch this, punch that, while they walk away, and having to go here and there, you know. So I feel like maybe stepping down, getting the real training I need, and having more experience and see what everyone else is doing. So I feel like this is a better opportunity, but all in all, I gotta say the 25 hours worth of time I did there was a great experience, and for that 25 hours worth of time and lack of training, I actually did better than I thought. Normally, from what one of my coworkers told me, most people would go crazy and hide in a corner and cry. I didn't do that. I wanted the challenge. But everything was getting overwhelming, and I thought, why is it that I gotta do everything? You know, I was like, I felt like I was back at the grocery store, which I did not like. So, to cut this story out, that was the experience and what happened. And now I'm hoping to step down and see if I can rise up and do better.